Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm pleased to be here with Kim Allman and Kevin Alejandro Roundy from NortonLifeLock. With families heading back to school and using devices and technology now more than ever, we will be having a conversation on what families can do to stay safe while they're online. Throughout our conversation today, we're going to encourage you to post any questions or comments that you have in the comments section of this live event. Before we dive in, I'd like to introduce Kim and Kevin a little bit more officially. Kim Allman leads corporate responsibility and global government affairs and public policy for NortonLifeLock. She's a veteran of Capitol Hill and managed the national state legislative programs for the domestic record industry at RIAA and for the tech industry at Tech America. She served for 6 years as an appointee in the Obama administration at the Corporation for National and Community Service, and now AmeriCorps running their government relations efforts. She sits on the executive boards of the Identity Threat Resource Center and the National Cybersecurity Alliance. Dr. Kevin Alejandro Roundy is a senior technical, man, this is live too, so bear with me, technical director for Norton Labs, NortonLifeLock's research division, and has been with the company since completing his PhD in 2012. Wow, that's amazing. His research has centered on the creation of new malware analysis and detection algorithms, several of which we have featured in products today. Additionally, areas of current interests include human-centric security and privacy paradigms. Kevin and Kim, thank you so much for being here with us today for this important conversation. Before we get started, you guys are amazing, by the way. Before we get started, I want to share with everyone the partnership that National PTA has and the commitment that we have with NortonLifeLock and the commitment to digital safety. National PTA has been working for more than 8 years to explore and address the online safety issues that are on the minds of families, as well as to connect families with tools, research, and support to encourage dialogue and help them navigate the digital world. National PTA has been collaborating with NortonLifeLock on this work in the digital space right now and from the start. NortonLifeLock is the presenting and founding sponsors of one of our premier programs, National PTA's Connected Initiative. PTA Connected is designed to educate and engage families in the digital wellness, security, access, equity, and literacy. The goal of this initiative is to deepen the understanding and knowledge of parents, families, and teachers about digital safety tools and resources, mobilize our PTAs, schools, and communities to engage families around best practices and share learning, and generate collective impact. Through this work, over $110,000 in funding supported by NortonLifeLock has already been awarded to our PTAs across the country to host PTA connected events. NortonLifeLock recently made a new $1 million contribution to PTA. Isn't that amazing? Through which National PTA will more than triple the amount of grant funding to local PTAs throughout the NortonLifeLock over the next 2 years, as well as modernize and relaunch the Smart Talk, a free, fun, interactive tool and educational program originally created 5 years ago by National PTA and NortonLifeLock. The Smart Talk helps families address privacy, screen time, social media etiquette, app uses, texting and calling, and set tech ground rules for your household. NortonLifeLock has been one of the most steady and generous champions of PTA since our alliance began in 2013, and that's amazing. Their continued support ensures that our association can continue to make important strides in our mission through the support of health, safety, well-being, and long-term processes for all of our children across the country. And with so many aspects of our daily lives now conducted digitally, it's more important now than ever that our families have proactive, open, and ongoing conversations to help build good digital habits and to keep our kids safe online. As the new school year starts, this is a perfect time for all of you watching all of our families to evaluate their online habits and to do a refresh on online safety tips and best practices. So let's get started. Let's dive into the conversation. We're going to ask Kim first question, and we're going to go to both with Kim and Kevin. The first question that I have for each one of you, and thank you again, by the way, for being here. Families are navigating a lot as children head back to school. COVID-19 and the Delta variant among the most critical. Can you tell us a little bit more about the importance of back to school digital safety?
Sure, I'll start us off. I mean, we're all concerned about, physical safety, of course, because of the pandemic, but, school's more digital than ever. And I hope there'll be a little bit less Zoom than last year, a little bit more in-person instruction, but still going back to school means accessing so many new websites, apps. Their kids are on Wi-Fi all day. They're creating all sorts of new accounts, and kids don't really have necessarily the best habits for creating passwords and understanding how to keep these things safe. So even though we do have all this in-person study, kids have to use apps both at school and at home. And my four daughters have so many school account apps, right? On Notability, the Khan Academy, and you name it, and in addition to their social media accounts and all these things. So it's certainly, there's a lot to be concerned about.
Yeah, and let me just, and before I actually respond to that, thank you, Anna. We are so pleased to be a part of this and really value the partnership with the PTA and looking forward to this conversation today. But just to put this issue in perspective, I mean, we know that there are 10 victims of cybercrime every second. And according to the FBI's Internet Crime Report from 2020, the number of victims who were children doubled from 2019 to 2020. So the results are astounding. This resulted in loss of hundreds of thousands of dollars to families. And so, yes, getting prepared for COVID-19 is essential and online learning. And we're hoping to educate families about easy ways that they can keep their families safe and to reduce their digital risks.
Wow, that's amazing. 10 victims every second. It's so important. It's crazy. That you're absolutely right, Kim. That's crazy just to know that data. And that's why this is extremely important, in this conversation that we're having is important today. So I have another question.
Yeah.
Tell us 2 easy ways that overwhelmed parents and caregivers can give their children cyber safe, to keep them cyber safe this year.
Well, the struggle is real and ongoing, right? I have 2 teenage boys. They're teenagers, so they're gaming and tweeting and twitching, whatever they do. I can't, as soon as I figure out one, get their password and look at what they're doing, there's another one. So it's, it's a full-time job, and I also have a full-time job. And I know how hard it is. I'm probably more attuned than a lot of other parents in, the risk and of doing some of this stuff and the need to protect yourself. And I know it's hard to do that and to do your full-time job. So one of the things that, we do that's super easy is turning on updates for your apps and programs on your laptops, tablets, and smartphones. A few minutes, so you can automatically take those automatic updates off your list. And it's important because this one step means the majority of malware and viruses are instantly blocked when your security is tight. There are also cybersecurity tools, of course, like Norton 360 that can offer to protect against ransomware and malware and viruses that I think are really critical for parents and kids.
I agree.
Yeah, and if I can just add my 2 cents, I think, it is a lot for a parent to take on, and it can be a burden. So I think it's really important to just have dialogue and empower your children by helping them understand these risks so that they can kind of take accountability for their own safety online, with your help and education. One of the key things is keeping your children's social media accounts safe, because there's so much personal content there. And you need to keep that safe to prevent cyber crime and all the bad things that can happen if their account is compromised. So you really need to be educated yourself and educate your kids. And a lot of that just comes down to like password safety, like keeping their passwords safe and secure. Multiple of my daughters have shared their passwords with other friends. And I'm like, to keep their Snapchat streaks alive. I'm like, you don't do that, right? You have to explain to them these things because they don't understand, and you need to help them understand what the risks are and what the problems are that could appear when they do these kinds of things. There are other things that we should be doing as well. So you can do things like turn off GPS tracking, enforce app age requirements. You can change the install settings on apps so that malware isn't downloaded on a device, so that malware isn't downloaded accidentally. And then, just going back to that theme of dialogue with your kids, maybe you need to set yourself a monthly or other kind of routine reminder to check in with your kids and make sure that their devices are safe, make sure that they're adhering to reasonable practices. And we have free resources and tutorials on our website that can help kids as they navigate and parents as they navigate these decisions.
Great information.
So I was just going to ask Kevin, we have of course, our smart talk that we do with the PTA, which we're very proud of. And in the process, as Anna mentioned, our new partnership, we're in the process of revamping that. But Kevin, I think you just did this with your daughters. You want to walk everyone through what the smart talk does and is, and how that impacted your family?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a really great set of guidelines and rules to kind of discuss with your kids that can help to keep them safe online. So it's a pretty unique tool. It's free. It just kind of gives you maybe a 10 to 15 minute dialogue that you can go through with your kids about safety. And every parent has different concerns and different priorities, and so you can kind of customize it to what's important to you and your children. But it helps you to kind of guide through the important issues that your kids should be aware of. And I'm sure, even for me as a security professional, there was things in there that I hadn't thought of and considered. So it was very helpful, and I had a great conversation with my daughter. We kind of filled out this basically set of guidelines and rules that we wanted to adhere to as a family. And then we posted it around the house.
Did you really post it on the refrigerator?
I posted it. I post our family rules all over. So in their bedroom, on their mirror, and in different places, so that if one of them falls down, I can still refer to another copies.
Wow. And you know what? So many of our parents post that, and I do it too. I have the old alphabet, the old colored alphabet letters, and I post those little sticky notes and stuff on the refrigerator. So that is an absolutely great way, because everybody goes into the refrigerator. So what a great way to post it right there in your face, so you can get the information. Thank you for sharing that, Kevin. So I have another question. How do parents and caregivers help kids balance their screen time, whether it's online gaming or not, with other offline activities?
So me to take that? Yeah, I mean, I think, from my perspective, it's like communication's key. I mean, I live this day in and day out with them, and, it's really, left to their own devices, so to speak, they wouldn't lift their heads up, I think, at the time. So I think, it's communication, and it's setting rules, like, put the phone away during dinner. And if it gets so easy to everybody do their own thing. But I really think you need to, the smart talk's a great way. It's also, I think it's just another way to have that constant dialogue with your family of these are the acceptable ways that you can use, online activity, and the other thing I notice is even with my own children, it's like they get, very big into the gaming, and they're talking to people that, oftentimes are, friends that they're, working with on Discord or something else. And it's like, they're not developing deep relationships. So it's also the opportunity to really talk to kids about, I think, a lot of real-time things that are happening right now, around actual good, proper uses of this stuff, and ways to avoid getting into trouble in many ways.
I agree. I know that my grandson, I have a grandson, and my oldest child is always watching to see how much he's been on screen and how much usage that he's having during the day, even though they are sometimes using their computers at school. She's very cognizant of that. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, I have another great question for you. How can parents or caregivers start the conversation with social media with angsty teens? We know that we have teenagers are ready to get on social media. How do they have that conversation?
That's a good one. I think most of our teenagers get on social media, right? Even before they're teenagers in many cases. And I think, it doesn't have to be a negative conversation, right? It's try and find a time when they're in a good mood and, when they're just open to talking, and just have open conversations about this topic and, other digital topics. It's important for them to understand the different types of abuse that's happening, but it's also important for you to learn from them. Like, what are they, what is the social media experience like? You want to be able to, have them show you some of the things that they do. They put a lot of time into their social media things. So, you have a right as a parent to follow them on, to be friends on Instagram and whatever other, platforms they use, so that you can see what they're putting online, and that makes things a lot easier, and it can be a friendly and open experience to kind of share with them what they're doing online. But you should raise some of the harder questions as well, right? Like, what makes you unhappy online? Are there things that cause you stress? And then I think it's important to make sure the kids get enough sleep. The school year is about to start, right? So it is concerning that they might, if they're just having the phone right next to them all night, when are they going to go to sleep? I think, there are software tools that you can do to just kind of turn a Wi-Fi switch off at a certain time of night if you want to do that. Or, I know other families have this great policy where there's like one place where all of the phone chargers are. And if you want to charge your phone at night, you go and plug it in there, right? And so that way, there's you need to just find a strategy that works for you, essentially. But it's important to have these conversations. Absolutely.
Oh, I totally agree. I was one of those parents. I didn't want my kids to feel like I was policing them, but to have a conversation with them to make sure that they understood that there are a lot of concerns that parents have with the digital divide out there. And not only the digital divide with equity issues, but a lot of our kids are on social media. We want to make sure that they're safe first. So thank you for answering that, Kevin. So I have another question. This is going to be the last question. How do parents, and it's got a lot into it. So how do parents and caregivers handle cyberbullying, sexting, online predators, filtering out adult and inappropriate websites?
I can start us off. I think from my experience, I think it's important for kids to have the expectation, when you hand them that device, often it's I bought this device for you, I'm your parent, I love you. And you need to be I need to have your password. I need to be able to check on your device and make sure everything's okay. And so, I think it's important, parents can have that right. They shouldn't feel like, oh my goodness, I'm encroaching so badly if I ask them to see what's going on their social media. And, there might be some resistance, but, you can be firm and say that, you need to be able to have access to these things. I think I'm not a fan of, spying on them secretly behind their back and things like that. Tell them that you're going to be doing it, be open about it, and, have that expectation. And then, you need to be able to have these conversations. I mean, there's, bullying has always been a problem before it became cyber bullying, right? And it's just giving bullies another tool to be able to use social media and these things. And so we need to be able to be talking to our kids, essentially, so we can have these conversations and know what's going on.
I agree. Having that open door policy is so important as a parent when we're talking to our kids about any kind of digital device, especially on social media. Is there anything else that you guys would like to share?
Well, just thank you so much for having us. I mean, this is, these are really important conversations, and we love all of the wonderful things that the PTA does and throughout our nation, and, do so much to keep our kids safe and having a good time. And we want to make sure that, that protection that the kids get from their parents extends to education about how to stay safe online. So
Absolutely.
Appreciate this opportunity.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Kim and Kevin, for participating on this Facebook Live event. And for all of your insight and your advice and the resources that you have shared with everyone today, and for being this important voice for our families moving forward. To everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us today. Please continue to follow National PTA and NortonLifeLock as we continue to work together to keep our families safe online. We know that this new school year is going to be pretty tough, but we have a lot of resources at our website, and we're going to ask that you get on our website, pta.org, and check them out, especially right here from the conversation that you just heard with Kim and Kevin, especially dealing with safety online for our children. That's extremely important. So thank you again. We hope that you have a great school year for joining us. And since we have a couple of minutes left over, I know that Kim and Kevin and I had a little conversation. We were fortunate to have a little conversation before this. And we, to kill time, to make it fun because we're live, we just thought about doing a little cha-cha with all of you guys. And so, we don't have the rights to any songs so with the cha-cha. So I'm just going to dance in my chair just a little bit. You see Kim is swerving. We hope that you guys take the day. And look, Kevin, he's getting it in too. He's getting it in too. We're hoping that you guys, this is fun. This is a live event and it's on social media. Make it fun with your kids. Protect them. Make sure that they're safe. NortonLifeLock is an amazing sponsor and partner with National PTA. We're asking you to go to the website, learn more about the work that they do, and especially with our Smart Talk. So here's to you, everybody. Have a great school year. And thank you for all that you do for our children and our families around the country.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Anna.